everyone, this is Carol, and welcome to Speakerman Speaks Retail, where we navigate retail from now to next through my latest retail trajectories and interviews with industry experts who help us chart the course to what's next. My regular listeners know that I've been talking about the rush to retail media for years, and it's turned into a multi-billion-dollar opportunity. Payments media networks are emerging as the next frontier, extending the reach of CPG advertising to millions of banking customers while revolutionizing the loyalty landscape. As president of SnippMedia, Tom Burgess is leveraging his years of digital advertising and loyalty experience to ignite exciting new opportunities in the payments media network space. Tom's on a mission to bring broader consumer insights and exponential eyeballs to CPG advertisers. He's a true thought leader in the digital advertising space, and I'm thrilled to have him on the show to tell us more about how CPGs, retailers, and banks can leverage the power of payments media networks. It's a next-level digital media play that I know you'll want to have on your radar. Hey, Tom, it's great to have you on the show. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, hey, Carol. It's wonderful to be here with you.
I know that you are sailing around the world a good portion of the year, which is awesome. Where are you right now?
So we're currently located on our boat in the Puerto Rico area in the Caribbean off a beautiful little island called Culebra. If nobody's been there before, look for it because people miss this island. So beautiful spot.
That is terrific. Are you going to stay there for a while or, drop anchor there for a while? Or are you heading someplace?
Yeah, that's literally what we do. We go to a certain area, we drop anchor. Both my wife and I work full time. So we will stay in any given place during the weekday and then maybe move along on the weekends, go to different places. So this coming weekend, we might head over towards Puerto Rico. We might sail back over towards the USVIs, but sometimes we'll just stay on anchor in a place like Culebra for 2 or 3 weeks and just work and then enjoy the weekends like everybody else does at home.
Well, maybe not like everybody else.
Yeah.
But that's terrific. What a wonderful lifestyle. Good for you. I want to start off by hitting one of the hottest topics in retail, which is retail media. It continues to create a lot of buzz. It's becoming very profitable for retailers. I've had some great conversations on the podcast about it with companies like Criteo and Brand Crush. But SnippMedia is a payments media network. So, Tom, for those who aren't familiar, can you explain what that is and what prompted Snip to take it on and add it to the portfolio?
Yeah, sure. So a couple different things to unpack there. One is that retail media networks have exploded, right? And it's due to the data that they have, the data that the retailers have about you and I or anybody's shopping history and how that can then be brought into advertising, mainly based on a targeting capability, right? So if they know the items that you're buying, they can put other items that might be competitive or fall into your category, your lifestyle, and then they can drive more sales. That's the gist behind the retail media networks. And the retailers learned that they have the digital assets. In other words, they're a publisher, right? They've got the eyeballs. Why aren't they using their own data? So over the last several years, go back 7 to 10 years, the retailers have built out their environments. Similar or very similar, the banking industry for the last decade has had payments media networks. However, not many people have heard of them. It has come into its own over the last 10 years. Same basic concept in that the banks have shopper data. The banks know where you shop while the retailers know what you buy in their store. So it's a really cool comparison when you look at the two. Both have very large eyeballs or audiences. And at Snip, we partnered with the banks, and I've been in the banking industry working with them on loyalty and rewards and driving what's called top of wallet, where the bank wants to be the first credit card you pull out. So been doing that for a decade. And we at Snip have been working with CPGs for that same period of time. And we married the two together so that we're bringing offers, as in CPG offers, to the banking industry and banking app and banking website. So we're monetizing a audience where there's great targeting and there's a great amount of reach. But it's new. It's been, again, about a decade where retailers have been putting offers up, But in payments media network is a new term to CPGs. It's item level. So in the banking industry, there's been ads and loyalty driven off of what they would call merchant-funded rewards or retail-funded rewards. What's new is, and Snip is bringing to the marketplace, especially with our launch with Bank of America, for instance, we have 47 million cardholders that have never seen an offer for $1 off of food and beverage products or $1 off of, say, cosmetics or something along those lines. That's what we're bringing, that SKU level down to the item level type of offer into the banking world.
You mentioned your experience with banking. You've been immersed in digital media and payments and loyalty and advertising. So how has all of that experience converged in your role at SnippMedia and with the work that you're doing with payments media networks?
So yes, serial entrepreneur, spent the last 30 years or so, started 4 companies, built them up and sold them to other bigger companies, and the majority of those exits. And each one of them has been based on finding a new set of eyeballs or a new audience in the digital advertising space. I did that with the wireless industry. We started a company and did mobile advertising. We were the first to ever do it. We scored a relationship with Verizon Wireless, brought ads onto mobile phones, and especially bringing ads onto mobile phones. At that time, nobody knew what that meant, right? We had people laughing at us. You're going to put an ad on a mobile phone? You must be out of your mind. Who's going to look at that? Well, now, obviously, it's very popular, and it's a big digital media category for the advertising industry. So in breaking into the banking space, I brought my time working with those advertisers who were looking for attribution. Attribution saying, hey, I know when people saw my ad, I know when people clicked on my ad, but do I know that they then bought my product? And that was why I went to the banks, and then working with Snip, who had a decade worth of working with CPGs, we brought those two pieces together. We said, wait a minute, if we can get all the data in the right place, then we can tell a consumer, or we can show a consumer an offer, and then we can tell that brand that the consumer saw the offer and went to the store and purchased that item. So that's the path.
Tracking that path to purchase has always been sort of the holy grail.
Yep, that's exactly right. So if you get an email from your bank, you open it up, right? If you're a typical banking consumer, you are opening your banking app 2 to 3 times a week. So that means that there's a lot of activity. And if you are also looking, especially in these times where people are trying to find the best use of their money at all opportunities, then the bank's giving discounts, any kind of a discount, especially on everyday spend items, then all parties win, right? The consumer's happy that the bank is giving them a way to save money. The CPG is finding access to consumers in a new channel that they haven't been able to find before. And the targeting and attribution data is outstanding.
Well, going back to retail media networks, retailers are, let's just say, strongly encouraging CPGs to go to their retail media networks before they go outside, kind of using their bully pulpit, if you will. So with all the growth in retail media, a lot of it being driven by that sort of perceived mandate on the part of CPGs, what added value do brands get working with Snip?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the CPGs are still getting a great deal of value by working with the retail media networks. The fact is that they haven't seen data like this before, right? So the targeting opportunity is outstanding. The thing that a payments media network brings that a retail media network does not is retailer agnostic eyeballs. So, for instance, we can bring a CPG to the table and we can put some type of offer in front of them that can be available at any retailer. And we see shopping behavior across all retailers. So we don't just see shopping data based on one retailer, but we have a grand ocean from which to pull this data. So that means that a consumer can see an offer from a CPG, and that CPG can choose to run their national budget or their shopper budget if they want to particularly choose a specific retailer to partner with. It's basically a broader view for the CPG.
That's great. So you're able to sort of pull the camera back and see the big story and not have it just narrowed down to a particular retailer's audience.
That's right. let's say you're a frozen pizza manufacturer and you want to reach people that go to pizza stores or pizza takeout. Maybe DiGiorno Pizza wants to drive you to buy their frozen pizza, and they want to know if you've been ordering pizza from Pizza Hut or Papa John's or whatever. We have that data, so we can actually bring that into the mix. So it's not just what was in your basket when you shopped at one particular retailer, but we can look at your overall spend and bring that to the table and appeal to a consumer and or to a brand to marry that market together.
Who would you say are your best customers just in terms of goal alignment and the typical business profile? You'd mentioned CPGs.
That's a great question because it's in particular, we're talking right now amongst our team. We have a request from our banking partners that are saying, bring healthy food options to the table, but cosmetics, personal care, home products, all home cleaning products in those categories are also high on our list.
Well, in your experience, who should you ideally work with, or who within the CPG companies should be getting involved with payments media networks?
What we found now is there's two interested parties at the CPGs. It's their digital media team, their advertising and or digital media team, or their retail media network. On the digital media team, it's a straight media buy, right? It's promotions. It's something that they've been doing forever, and it's a new audience. So it's a real easy fit for them. The data we have is unique and new, so it's attractive to them. On the retail media side, it's a little bit different in that we're appealing to them as an extension of their audience. So we have a very large audience and tens of millions of consumers that we can reach. And the retail media team, if in fact they've maxed out their audience, then we can be an extension partner for them.
How do shoppers benefit? We've talked about the CPGs. What do shoppers get out of it?
The shopper saves money. At the end of the day, this is an opportunity for consumers to save additional dollars when they shop on everyday items. We are focused on the grocery space, right? So everyday grocery, pharmacy, convenience stores, those are the categories that we're trying to most bring to the consumers or the bank card holders, and therefore saving dollars and cents every day.
I can imagine you're focused on grocery for the same reasons that retailers are, in that it drives up traffic and it's a frequency category. Are there ways that it can work outside of grocery?
Oh, it can work outside of grocery for sure. The banks look at a consumer's loyalty based on how they spend or how loyal they are to the bank. The number one driver of a bank's loyalty from their cardholders is if they're doing direct deposit. The next, as in you get your paycheck, direct deposit into your account. Okay, then the bank knows that consumer is putting us at their primary bank. The next most important thing is shopping, of course, and grocery is the number one category. So we started with grocery based on the fact that the banks are saying we want to drive grocery purchase on our cards. A minute ago, I said this payments media network environment's been around for about a decade. But over that decade, grocery has been a category that the banks haven't been able to offer because they couldn't do SKU level. That's what SNIP does. So SNIP's focused on getting down to that SKU level, bringing grocery into the banks. And that's why we are specializing in that space, because we can get down to that item level and bring grocery to the bank. So when you look at the full ecosystem, here are all the different constituents that we touch. Bringing grocery to the table isn't based on technology or capability or even the biggest demand. It's based on the fact that that's an everyday purchase category that, in fact, our publishers, again, we have one bank with over 50 million cardholders. They want to drive that top of wallet. So we're bringing something that hasn't been brought to this audience before, grocery items.
Well, I would think, too, when you're combining a frequently shopped category with a frequently used service like a bank, that just really becomes exponential.
Yeah, it puts the two things together. And it's never been done before, at least not done in this format where we're going down to the SKU level, right? The item level. So that's the unique feature or functionality that we're bringing to the table. And you said, hey, can we advance it to other categories? Sure. Home improvement, we could go there. We can go into specialty retail, clothing retail. All of those things will come into the future. But the first, if you will, beachhead environment is grocery, everyday spend.
Well, when it comes to the user experience, what does it look like? How can you make this come together without it looking cluttered or distracting?
Typically, a bank will offer a environment where they have offers that drive you and I to use our card, right? So some type of discount offers. Pretty much every bank, at least in the US, has that kind of environment somewhere in their interface. Some banks more than others. So the bigger top 5 banks have these kinds of offers right on their home pages of their apps and their websites. Bank of America has Bank AmeriDeals. And that's been around for about a decade. And we're putting the offers right into that environment. So it's one click off the home page of the app or the website. And then sometimes it's even ads that are tucked inside the consumer experience, even while they're paying their bills or they're checking their balance and doing other things like that in their statements. And so the offers are pretty easy to find. And with targeting, those offers are appearing in front of the right audience as well. So the banks are good partners from the sense that they also want these offers to get in front of the consumer, right? This is a mutually beneficial environment. Everybody's winning, and includes the consumer, of course, if the offers are easy to find.
Well, it sounds like you plug into their platforms too. If they already have existing platforms for those types of things that maybe weren't being optimized, you just plug in and become part of that environment.
Yeah, the benefit for us as a company is those environments they're embedded, right? There's already an interface for the consumer to go to find offers. We're bringing new types of offers, new types of functionality into an existing environment. And we do integrate with them in different ways. Different banks want to do different things. Some want to run the whole program. They want to have they don't want the consumer to leave their environment, right? They want them to stay on their app page or on their web page. So we simply expose, and I can get a little technical, but we simply expose an application layer, an API for them to integrate to. And they bring all of the offers and the graphics and everything into their environment. Other banks say, we don't want to have anything to do with it. We're just going to give you a link and the person's going to go over to a page that you, Snip, host. And so we do both. And some are very particular, right? As you might imagine, right? They want to be very particular about what the consumer sees, what they're doing, how it works. So a typical bank will run a pilot. We'll build something out. We'll produce an environment together, and then we'll run that environment and those offers to a subset of their cardholders to make sure that everything works well.
Well, it sounds like the CPGs really don't have to do much heavy lifting.
Yes, for the CPGs, it's pretty straightforward. We have an onboarding process for them. We get graphics from them. We have their offers that they want to run, timing of how long they want to run them, and then they get their reporting. So if there's anything that's important to the CPG, of course, it's the data that comes out of this. So they want to see the traffic that saw their ad. They want to see how many redemptions. They want to see maybe what else was in the basket. When the consumer bought their product, they might want to even see their price of their product because unbelievably, sometimes the CPG doesn't even know how much their product was purchased for because the retailer's in control of the pricing. So all of this data comes back to the CPG. So that's, at the end of the day, the CPG's starting process is very, very simple. It's on the back end where they want all the data back. They might choose to do an integration to get the data in near real time.
Oh, very flexible. Cool. Well, let's talk about something that is a real hot button in retail right now, and that is interchange fees, or what some people just call bank or credit card fees. Right now, it's kind of all over the place because some retailers are creating their own payment solutions. What's your take on all of this, and where does Snip Media fit in, or do you?
Yeah, no, there's interchange fees are, there's massive challenges with interchange fees, right? The banks have to get paid, but the retailers don't like the margin erosion that they see on their side when they pay as a percentage of a transaction. And one of the fun parts about what we're doing right now is because it is a funded program by the CPG, that means the retailer benefits from it. And so in that world of interchange argument or battle that's going on between the banks and the retailers, if we're bringing in funding from a CPG to drive a consumer into a particular retailer, we can take a piece of that funding that goes through the CPG and share that with the retailer. So it becomes an offset to the interchange. In other words, when a consumer goes into a retailer and makes a purchase and they've been driven there by a bank, if we, as SNP and the partner with the bank, bring dollars, and every time a consumer shops at a particular retailer, then that can be another benefit that the bank is bringing to that retail. So it offsets the interchange fees. We're way in the weeds now. We're way in the weeds here, but it's a high-profile environment. Offsetting interchange is a thing that retailers like to hear. And so when we're talking to retailers, and you asked me earlier, what are the different audiences you talk to with the retailers? This is where we might say we're talking to the finance group or the treasury group at a retailer. And if they're interested in offsetting interchange, we can come to them with a particular bank. We can put offers together that drive the consumers into that particular retailer and then share some of the revenue that comes from that.
And it sounds like you're able to quantify those offsets or you wouldn't even be talking about it.
Yeah, we absolutely are able to quantify it. And we see all the data. We see the transactions. We know what transaction happened, when that consumer went in there. I mean, if a consumer is redeeming 2 or 3 or 4 items that we have on offer through the banks, then each one of those items is paying the retailer a certain piece. So the more items that are driven through the till, the higher the offset is. And yeah, we have a particular program and a particular cadence of information that we can show the retailer so that if we get to the point where we're talking to Treasury at a retailer, it's a really interesting conversation. We get a lot of excitement, a lot of enthusiasm, I would say, when we get to that point.
I can imagine. Well, are there any best practices that you can share, Tom, or any pitfalls from your experience as brands explore the payments media opportunity and just that whole ecosystem?
Yeah, the pitfalls are basically the technology, right? So how is the consumer redeeming the offer? Is it a picture of a receipt that they're taking? Is it a digital payment? Is it a card-linked offer? And the biggest pitfall is don't get caught up in any of it. Make it easy for the consumer. And if you're a retailer or you're a CPG and you're trying to reach the broadest audience, well, a bank's got a heck of a big audience and they're very loyal, as we've already discussed. And so picking the best redemption or at least accepting multiple different types of redemption capabilities is the way to go. Just ignore that piece. Let the consumer make their choice. We believe in and have seen the best results when the consumer can make the choice on how they're going to redeem. Some people like to take a picture of a receipt. Other people want to make it simple. They just want to swipe their card and walk out the door. Just let it flow.
Yeah, I've been saying that choice and convenience are basically synonymous with shoppers these days. And retailers have had to learn the hard way and brands have had to learn the hard way that when they start curtailing choice, it's like shoppers can smell it a mile away and they don't like it.
Give the consumer their choice of how they want to redeem an offer, how they want to spend their money, and that's the best way to go. And that, sometimes it makes sense for a CPG to delve into the details because it might help with, say, stacking, which is a big topic, right? If you want to control stacking and or any kind of fraud, then we come to the table with specific capabilities to solve for those two things. Fraud and stacking could be considered the same thing, but we have different capabilities where sometimes the CPG says, I want them to stack. Let them stack. Let's drive more transactions. So we look at it from whatever perspective the CPG wants us to look at it.
Great. Yeah, sounds like it's just ultimate flexibility, meeting them where they are and sort of letting them make it their own within parameters.
Yeah, within parameters. And the benefit here is that SNP's not a startup, right? SNP has been around for a decade, is a well-heeled, publicly traded and profitable company. And so a lot of capabilities, a lot of history there, a lot of technology in solving these problems prior. This is a new offering. This capability, this payments media network on the banks is a new offering by SNP, but it's based on a platform that's been around for many, many years.
What is next?
Yeah, what's next? So I think the biggest to what's next is getting the relationships with the payments media network and retail media networks together. You started off with that, so I'll bring it full circle. And there's an opportunity there. There's an opportunity to bring all of that data together. But you got to be careful because, hey, look, this is consumers' purchase history data, right? So the next thing on the map here for us is putting together that data so that everybody is benefiting in our ecosystem. So our constituents are seeing the most value out of partnering. So bringing a retail media network together with their particular purchase data that they have, matching that up with a bank's particular purchase data. So we now have the SNP capability of putting an offer in front of the consumer at the right place at the right time. That's really what's next.
And it sounds like such a great opportunity for CPGs too. We talked about retail media networks and some of the other options that are broadening their world, but this just really takes it to another level.
Yeah, this audience hasn't been tapped before, right? So in my career, opening up, for instance, digital advertising in the wireless industry, in the mobile phone industry, the bank audience is bigger, right? It's actually a larger audience than mobile, and it's more loyal as well. So you have a very trusted environment here. So it's a very good opportunity for CPGs, seeing how the activity comes through, seeing what kind of results we get. We're super excited about that part. We've seen some in the trials, and we know what we're getting. We know we're driving frequency. We know we're driving additional purchases. We're driving higher loyalty. And now we just want to try it with multiple brands and see how it goes.
Thank you so much for joining me, Tom, and providing all the color around this. I think it's an exciting conversation to have in conjunction with retail and especially with all of the common stakeholders. And like you're saying, the benefits to not only the CPGs, but shoppers and retailers really win in the end too.
Yeah. Oh, Carol, it's been great speaking with you.
Yeah, you too. So where are you headed next in the boat?
Yeah, we're going to figure that out this weekend. We kind of let it go until the weather tells us what to do. So if the wind's blowing out of one direction, we may go the other direction. We'll see.
Well, great. Well, happy sailing and a pleasure speaking with you. And I look forward to following your progress.
Thanks, Carol. Thanks a lot.
Wow, what a great conversation. I just love learning about new digital media opportunities. And I know we're going to be hearing a lot more about payments media networks in the retail space. To learn more about Snip Media and the entire Snip portfolio, check out snip.com. That's SNIPP. And you'll find Tom on LinkedIn, Tom Burgess. If you like what you're hearing, you can bring conversations like this to life in your spaces. If you're interested in how we can work together, reach out to me at speakermanretail.com or email team@speakermanretail.com to book a discovery call. See you next time.